Might take, today, it might take maybe 1.5 hours. We'll see. I'll see how long it takes. But we might get disconnected at 40 minutes and then have to reconnect, right? Just because this is how Zoom operates for the free Zoom. All right, so this was the network assignment that I gave a week or two ago. I just wanted to do a quick review and then we can move on to the presentation. So as you can see, this was activities here, immediate predecessor and duration months. We had to find a way to create the network diagram using these three columns. So I won't go into much detail. I'll just start with the first ABC and see how far we go. So this activity A, there is no predecessor and the duration is 2 months. So that's why my 2 months is right here, 2 months on activity A. So activity B, predecessor is activity A. The duration is 4 days. So that's why I put 4 days here for activity B. C, activity C, predecessor is A. Duration months are 2. So that's why I put 2 here and so on. So you can see that's how all this comes about. And if, just a minute here, if we continue with this, we get to the end, the last one, and you can see activity J, predecessor is H and F. So J here, I missed it at one point. Oops. There should be one line here too. That's okay. And the duration is 6. Okay, 6 months. And then activity K, predecessor is HIJ. Oops, I, J, and H. And duration is 4 months. 4 months. So that's it. So that's how I do this one, right? So that's how this entire diagram was done. Okay, so here's all that. So that clears that. Question 1, using the network diagram above, what is your critical path? Okay, so there's 2 critical paths here, right? You can see the red lines in the large screenshot. So let me just try that. This line here, all these are your critical paths. And you'll see there's 2 diverging paths here, and they come together. And there's a reason why these are like this. How do you know your critical path? Okay, so let's start with this one. If this is 0, and this is 2 days, this will take you 2 days for this event. This 2 comes over here, and you add your 4 days, and you get 4 plus 2 is 6. And you go like this throughout the entire map. right, throughout the entire network diagram. The only difference is, for example, you might see 6 goes from here to here on B. 6 goes from B to E here. And as you can tell, we're doing a forward pass, which means early start and late start. So these are that's this one here and that's this one here. Right? All of these, we all do the same forward pass. We go from the start from A all the way to K. Now, you'll notice that this number here is 6, this number here is 4. B and C go into E. So you'll notice that this is 6 here on E, the early start. Because when you do a forward pass and you have 2 activities that join into one activity, like B and C join into E, you have to take the highest number, right? So this is 6 and this is 4. You have to take the highest number is 6. So that's how you do your forward pass, and you'll end up with 28 and 28. 28 at the end. So when you do your backwards pass, you go from K, from the finish K, all the way to the start A. You have to start with your 28, and you subtract 4, which gives you 24. And then 24 will go into I, 24 will go into J. This is the late finish, right? And you do the same thing. Subtract 6 will give you 18. 24 subtract 6 will give you 18, and so on. You go all the way back. The only difference is, as you go backwards from your finish to your start, if you have, you'll notice that this is 16 for H, the early finish. So this will also be, for the late finish, will be 16 for F. And so on and so forth, you know, you keep moving. Now, I think I have everything correct here, I think. The only difference is, if you have, like on G and H, G you have 14, H you have 16 for the early finish. When you go to D, because G and H both go to D, this one here, this 14, this late finish, you have to take the lowest one. You don't take 16 as the highest for H, 14 is the highest for G. You have to take, between the two, you have to take the lowest. So you have to take this 14 here when you do a backwards pass, you know, when you move from the right to the left. So that's the only difference. Forward pass, you take the highest number. Backwards pass, you take the lowest number. Okay, let me try and clear all this out. You'll notice that the way we can find the critical path is that when you take the early start and the early finish, and you subtract them, it's 0. 18 minus 18 is 0. It's 18 minus 18, 0. So this is one way to find the critical path. You'll notice that all your early start, late start, early finish, late finish, if you subtract these two numbers, they all come out to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So this is how you know the critical path. And what does critical path mean? It means this is the one that you cannot change any days. You cannot add days, you cannot subtract days, because it will affect the end date of your project. So in this case, 28 means that there are 2 critical paths and each of them are 28 months long. So A, B, E, F, H, I, J, K, and A, B, E, F, H, J, K. And that's what these ones are right here. So that's the answer to question 1, is the critical path are these 2. these two paths here that make up 28 days. So I hope that's clear. Any questions on this? No questions? Okay. I hope everyone can still hear me.
No, we too,
okay.
sir.
Okay, good. All right, I will go to question 2. So what is the latest time that activity G must be completed in order that the project is not delayed? So like I said here, this is, let me get this, late finish.
Hello, Mr. McCall.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, please, sorry, my phone was on mute, so I couldn't pick up when you asked for a question. Well, I have a question concerning this critical part. Okay, I normally work with Primavera for scheduling, and I tried for the predecessor and successor activities. I tried using using 2 activities, linking 2 activities as a predecessor. But I kind of noticed whenever I track the project for updates, it gets like, it just goes ballistic, like very bad. So I tend to use only 1 activity as a predecessor instead of using 2 as a predecessor. Why is that happening?
I've never used Primavera, but I can tell you that Primavera is for enterprises. Multiple projects in different industries, you know. So if it's anything like Microsoft Project, it can be very finicky, you know. The smallest thing can affect what you do, and I can show you where the problems can occur in Microsoft Project. And I wouldn't be surprised if Primavera was similar, you know. That's why sometimes you have to make sure that it depends. Are you doing a start, finish? Are you doing start, finish, finish, start, finish, finish, start, start?
Okay, yeah, sometimes due to some projects, some activities may need to finish, but normally I'm used to finish start or start. That's what I do. That's what I normally use. 2 projects can start at the same time, or one must finish before the other. I hardly use that start finish. That's very confusing.
I would say in Microsoft Project, same thing. If you do anything except start finish, then you will come into lots of problems. So I just stay with start finish in Microsoft Project. I'm assuming it might be the same in Primavera. I don't know, but that can be depending on what type of network diagram you're creating. It could, or what kind of project you're creating. It could cause you problems.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think. That's what I'm guessing. But you know what I would do though? I would, if you can, I would send an email to Primavera and ask them if this is the case. Ask them about this problem. That would be one. The second thing I would do is I would go to a Primavera discussion group online, if you can find one, and pose this question to them and see what kind of answer you can get.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Maka.
Okay. Right. So let me see now, back to question number 2. Right. Okay. So when is the delayed time that activity G must be completed in order that the project is not delayed? So we have late finish here is 18 months. As you can see, I did a screenshot of G, and it shows, I highlighted in yellow here, 18 months, right? So that's the latest time that you can complete activity G. That's the late finish, right? So question 3, when is the earliest time? Earliest time will be early start. Earliest time activity can possibly be completed. Okay, so that's early finish, right? Highlighted in yellow here, early finish is 12 months. Okay, for D. And what is the free float for activity? Oh, someone's microphone is on. Coyote, Mr. Coyote, I think your microphone is on. Hello?
Please let us mute our mic so that we can listen to the facilitator. Thank you very much.
So question 4, what is the free float for activity E with respect to H? So you'll see here that 16, early start and early finish for activity H. And then we have late start and late finish for activity E. So just, 16 subtract 10, that's your 6 months. So 16 months minus 10 months, and that's it, 6 months. So that's your free float with respect from, with respect to activity E with respect to activity H. Right? So that's it. So that's it. So those are the answers. The only thing I noticed, now that I look at it, let me just see. So I think I forgot one part here. I think there's one thing here. I forgot from F to J. That's okay. But it doesn't affect the critical path anyway. But that's good to know. So that was my one error. Okay. All right. So that's it. Those are the questions now. I need to share. So, Mr. Host, Mr. Prince, can I share? Oh yeah, thank you. All right, good.
Right. Yeah, you can share your screen, sir.
Okay, I have it now. Thank you. Okay, so we will start with this. So that concludes. We did about 20 minutes on that, 15-20 minutes. So that concludes the questions I gave you. So now on with this program. Well, this is a long one. I have maybe just a minute here. I have maybe 47 slides, many slides here, so I try to go through quickly. Okay, so today is project scheduling in Microsoft Project. I'm not going to use Microsoft Project. I will just show you screenshots because it's faster. And I don't want to confuse you. This way you see my screenshots and you can keep this project, this PowerPoint for your own edification, right? So you can learn from it. So we're going to use the WBS that we did in the first presentation a few weeks ago. We did the work breakdown structure. Then we did a network diagram the second session. So this session, we take both of these and we put them together in Microsoft Project to create this scheduling. Okay, so just a quick review here. Failing to plan is planning to fail. In other words, the process we're going through, this is the third session now. All this is very important because if you don't plan, if you don't do what we've done with the WBS and the network diagram and entering all this into Microsoft Project and maintaining it regularly, if you don't do this, there's a very large percentage that your project will more than likely fail. A good thorough project plan usually equals success in building high performance teams, right? So like I said, first session was WBS, second session we did was network diagram. And I provided you some practice questions. We just went over them and I sent those practice questions and answers to Prince, and I think he sent them all out in the WhatsApp group message yesterday. So you should have access to all those. So today, we will do the input of we'll input the WBS and network diagram into Microsoft Project. Now, there are many different tools to use: Microsoft Project, Project Libre, Open Project. Open Project and Project Libre are both free. Microsoft Project is expensive, but it works. It works very well. So the screenshots I will show you today are for Microsoft Project 2010 and up. They will work in Microsoft Project 2003, but you just have to, I think the location of the buttons are a bit different, but everything's pretty much the same. For Project Libre or Open Project, you'll have to find where these buttons are. They're probably similar, but not the same location as Microsoft Project, but the concept is the same. All right. We need to be able to create a Gantt chart, which will detail the flow of our project, right, from start to finish. And we need to be able to update this information about our resources, the durations of all these activities, the start and end dates, who is working, the resources allocated to each of these updates. We need to do all this in Microsoft Project. And even though this takes time and it can be complicated, I think at the end of the day, it will be a huge benefit to you as a project manager, and it will make you a better project manager. Okay, I provide this link at the beginning of this presentation, and I will also have it at the end on the last slide, because this dummies.com web URL will give you the screenshots for this presentation that I'm going to do today, except my presentation is more detailed. But I think this dummies.com site explains very, very nicely how to do many of the things we are going to do today. All right, input your schedule into Microsoft Project. Background settings need to be correct for the critical path management. And these background settings I will show you, you must be able to check these off before you start anything in Microsoft Project. So, what I mean by this is, make sure that all of these are completed before you enter anything about the project into Microsoft Project. Because if you don't do this, if you don't follow these items here, you will run into many, many problems. Like the one problem that the young lady mentioned earlier about, trying to link activities and problems occurring. Some of these things will happen in Microsoft Project if you don't follow these rules ahead of time. So I'm thinking maybe in answer to that question, maybe Primavera is the same way. Maybe you have to do some default settings first before. Uh-oh. It says that our meeting will end in 10 minutes. Oh dear. Uh-oh. Okay, maybe if it ends and we come back. So maybe in the case of Primavera, you have to do some settings ahead of time in order to avoid some of the problems that are occurring. I'm guessing, that's my guess. Okay, so we're going to go through these steps one by one first. We only have 10 minutes. We'll be disconnected, and then we can come back and continue. Let me see. Yeah, okay, good. So, like I said, these settings are from Microsoft Project from 2010 upwards, right? I'm going to use these screenshots to explain, screenshots like this to explain how to set things up. In this case, just go to File Options in Microsoft Project. And you will notice there's a difference between, I'm trying to get my screenshot here. There's my annotation. Yeah. There's all new projects, and there's scheduling options for this project, and there's calendar options for this project under the schedule section in the project options display box. There's a big difference between these two, right? So you have to pay attention. In our case, we're going to use all new projects. And what this means is that for every new project, these settings that we're going to keep will be the same, right? And if you have a current project open, you should close the project and open a new project. Because your old project, your current project rather, will have some old settings. We don't want those old settings. So if you have if you have a current project open, you should shut that and then open up a brand new project so you can start from scratch with all these settings. So that's for any project that you do, right? If you're going to start from scratch, this is how you should do it. All right. Now, as I said, note the schedule section in the options page on the left navigation bar, right? So I already indicated that one. So we're okay with that. All right. So these are a few more settings we have to do. Like I said, in the schedule tab, calendar options for this project will be all new projects. The fiscal year starts, let me try and get some annotation here, just a sec. Yeah, so you've got fiscal year starts in January. You can start this fiscal year in any month, but it just applies to the time scale of your project. The company you're working for or the company you're doing the project for, how do they, like what's their fiscal year? Where does their fiscal year start? So that's where this comes in. And I just indicated here that it applies for a small, for a time scale that uses quarters, especially when you're printing your Gantt chart. So it's good to say that. Your default time, in this case, I just put 8 a.m. here, and default end time, 5 p.m. This depends on what hours that you use. I have here hours per day 7.5, in the screenshot I have 8. Now, if you enter duration in days for an activity, Microsoft Project will convert that to minutes. This is very important to know. So you have to be careful with the number of days that you enter, right? The reason why I have 7.5 days here is because I account for lunch break, 0.5, like half an hour. You can do it the way you want. You might have a 7-hour day, right? With 1 hour lunch break. So let's say you have an activity that takes 5 days. 7.5 hours times 60 minutes is equal to 450 minutes. 450 minutes times 5 days is 2,250 minutes for one activity, which is how Microsoft Project will store this in their database. But if you have 8 hours and 60 minutes per hour, it comes out to 480 minutes times 5 days is 2,400 minutes. So you see the big difference between how Microsoft Project calculates hours in minutes. So if you have 7.5 hours per day and you want Microsoft Project to overlay on your schedule, like an 8-hour day, you're going to come up with very strange calculations. So you've set, initially you've set it to be 2,250 minutes, and you want it to do things within 8 hours, like somewhere else in your project. It'll calculate, it might calculate it as 5.43 days. It might screw things up. So my point is, you pick the number of hours for your day and you stay with it throughout the entire project, or else you will mess things up. Okay, under the schedule tab again, under the options, hours per week, you can say 37.5 if it's a 7.5-hour day. The screenshot shows 40 hours per week. Days per month, 22 if you want. You set this up the way you need to. I've just given this as an example, right? Scheduling options for this project. You choose the selection, all new projects. New tasks created, make sure it's automatically scheduled. Once you enter the activities and durations, Microsoft Project determines the days and activities will occur, which days and activities will occur. So if you put it as manually selected, you'll have to go in and manually do this. You don't want, you want these calculations to be automatic, right? So make sure that new tasks created should be automatically scheduled. And the default type task should be fixed duration. So there's also fixed units and fixed work. You want fixed duration for a very good reason. And hopefully I have enough time to explain this before we go to break, I hope. So fixed work, how many hours an individual has available to do an activity, right? And Microsoft Project will change the duration based on how much of availability this resource has. So this is what fixed work is about. And if you're working with an enterprise, this is usually for an enterprise with project server, right? Which you're not going to use. So don't worry about fixed work. In the case of fixed units, a particular unit of time for a resource, you might have like 10% of time for one resource, 50% for another resource. So when you assign a resource to an activity, Microsoft Project changes that duration based on that activity, based on how many units of that resource's time are available. Again, this is for enterprise with project servers, so you don't need fixed units. My recommendation is to stay with fixed duration. So you tell Microsoft Project the duration of each activity, no matter what happens, that duration will stay the same, which is what you want, right? So in your work breakdown structure, resource time for an activity has already been taken into consideration. You did all this during your WBA session, right? So you want Microsoft Project to keep all the same. All right, we're going to be disconnected, so I will continue when we get back.
Okay, guys, please. I want everybody to log in 2 seconds. I'll log out, so I'll log in again. Thank you very much.